My name is Albany Rose, and I want to share my abortion testimony with you, CNN, and anyone that is willing to listen. I found myself pregnant when I was 16 years old, and it was from an on-again, off-again boyfriend at the time. We decided to tell our parents that we were pregnant that night, and I remember telling my dad when he walked in the door when he got home. And he wasn't surprised. He knew I'd been promiscuous, and it didn't seem to bother him. And even with all of that, the conversation turned to abortion. There was no choice. It was I would have an abortion, or I would be kicked out of the house. I would have no one to turn to. And although I fought with keeping my child, or at least putting my little one up for adoption, those weren't allowed. I was made to call Planned Parenthood the next day to schedule an appointment for an ultrasound to see how far along I was. And I remember going in and lying on that table, and the woman wouldn't let me see the screen when she was performing my ultrasound. I remember asking what was there, and I remember asking if I could see it, but I was too afraid. And she just said I wouldn't know what I was looking at. I wouldn't be able to make it out. So, as a professional, I took her at her word. I remember being so scared that I waited a couple weeks to make the final appointment for that abortion. I remember walking in, paying first, and sitting in a really horribly quiet room. A woman called me back, and I wasn't given a consultation of my abortion or what was to come. I was given the option of surgical or RU-486, the pill. All that I was told was that the surgery was less painful, so I went with that, like it was an everyday thing. I was told to get undressed, and I laid on the table, and another nurse came in and told me I would feel slight pain as she opened up my cervix. That pain was excruciating. I wasn't given anything before that, and it felt like there was a literal fire inside of me. Then I was injected, and I passed out. I never met my abortionist. After the procedure, I was wheeled into a room, and it was horribly quiet, besides the sound of girls around my age crying. I remember one little girl, not little, I suppose. I remember one girl my age, about 16, maybe 15, asking a nurse if she could see the aftermath. And I remember her talking about little hands and little feet. And it was like she was trying to prove herself to this girl that it was so cool. And I remember being wheeled out of there to leave after my hour rest. And I remember leaving, and that girl was crying. When I left, I was given a brown bag that had a 3 months worth of birth control and a form that said come back in a couple weeks to be checked out, make sure everything was a-okay. After my abortion, I became very angry. I became radically pro-choice, and now when I look back, I realize it's simply to mask my hurt from all that time. 2.5 years ago, skipping forward, I met a man who is now the father of my 2 children, and he was incredibly pro-life, and I was pro-choice at the time. That was something we never saw eye to eye on. 6 months into dating, I became pregnant. I swore up and down that wouldn't change a thing. I would stay pro-choice, and what was inside me was not a child yet. Then the 8-week ultrasound came, And I lied on that table once more. And I looked at the screen because no one there was trying to hide what was on it. And I saw a beating heart and a head and little stubs for hands and feet. And our child was wiggling and moving and breathing. My abortion happened after that time period. My abortion happened between 11 and 12 weeks. My ultrasound for our daughter was at 8 weeks. What was on that screen was a child, and I was lied to. But that wouldn't hit me until a few years later, after that 8-week ultrasound. In about 2 months, I went from radically pro-choice to incredibly pro-life. And all that made me feel was an immense amount of pain to realize that you participated in the killing of your child. And no, I wasn't aware of what I was doing at the time. I was afraid and I was scared, as most women are. But we have to face it for what it is. It changed my life because I have to live with what I did, as we all do. And even the women that want to deny it, we know what we've done. Doesn't matter how deep we want to bury it. There is so much I could say about abortion, and there are people that will say the exact opposite of me. But in the end, we all stopped a beating heart. We all signed a waiver agreeing for another person to touch a body that was not our own and end that life. We all agreed to terminating a heartbeat and a life and our baby. That is what abortion is, and that is my experience firsthand. So I hope this can touch someone out there. Bye.